Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our general membership meeting for June 2021. Before we get started with the meeting, we'd like to do what we always do and have recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And directly after that, we'd like to have a moment of silence for our departed members and family members, especially over the past year. Okay? So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, folks, and again, welcome to our general membership meeting. It has been quite some time since we've seen all of you, and it's been 3 months since our last meeting. So it's been a different process since the pandemic has hit, and we haven't had in-person meetings. So we appreciate those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live. And we appreciate those of you who continue to follow along and get involved even through this trying time. I'm sure you will hear a little bit later, but we promise you we'll be getting back to in-person meetings soon. But we just want to make sure that we do the right thing as far as the health and safety of our members and our staff and their families. Okay? For those of you who don't know, my name is Joe Waddy. I'm the Executive Vice President and the Recorder here at Local 1500. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Thank you for being here. It's always an important meeting so we give you the state of our union. Basically, you know what's been going on with your union over the past 3 months and beyond. For those of you who are new, what we will do is have a raffle at the end of the meeting. Amongst other reasons, to be able to be entered into the raffle, we'd like you to just check in the chat. Just tell us what your name is and what store you're from. Hello, I'm Joe Waddy from store 566, for example, of Stop and Shop. This way you'll be entered, just virtue of your attendance, you'll be entered into the raffle, the drawing we'll have here tonight. Also, we like to know who is and how many of you guys are out there watching us, as we always try and monitor that and grow our numbers and get our membership involved, regardless of what's going on out there. Okay, folks? So take the time during the course of this meeting to just check in and just say hello and let us know that you're there. We have staff in the back who is monitoring the chatter and monitoring attendance. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat as well, and we will address any questions at the end of the meeting. Okay? Thanks again for joining us, and I will just begin by giving you what is our bargaining update, because we've got a bunch of contracts that have expired, are expiring, and will be expiring soon. Most of you already know that in December we successfully negotiated and ratified the Stop and Shop deal. We represent about 7,500 Stop and Shop members, which is our largest membership, and that was a huge success. And thank you to everyone who was involved there. Thank you to the membership of Stop and Shop for sticking in with us and ratifying that as well. Since our last meeting, we have successfully negotiated and ratified contracts at Associated, Rockville Center, Food Basket, in Bayville. Both of those stores are in Nassau County. We have successfully negotiated and ratified Gemstone, Key Food, Holiday Farms, and Park Plaza, which are in Queens and also in Nassau County. We are currently negotiating with Pickwick the Pickwick Company for the legacy contract, for the manager contract, and for the new store contract. So there are 3 contracts within the Pickwick Company that we are currently bargaining. I will tell you, things have been going well so far, and we're making some progress there. And we have another bargaining session scheduled tomorrow for with Pickwick Legacy. And as we progress there, we will keep you guys abreast of the situation and updated as much as we can. We are also in the process of negotiating with Wild by Nature, the health food store that is a sister company to King Cullen. Again, I'm happy to report so far things are moving along pretty well. We have a negotiations session scheduled there for this upcoming Monday, and we're hoping to make some good progress there as well. We will keep you informed there. We are in the process of scheduling negotiations with Mandel Key Food and Dan Supreme Key Food. Also, IGA in Amagansett, that's the store is doing business as Super Saver. We will be looking to negotiate that contract soon, as it will be expiring soon. Bogopah acquired contract. Now, these are the 2 Food Bazaar stores that Bogopah, the parent company of Food Bazaar, purchased during the A&P bankruptcy. They purchased the closed Starrett City Pathmark location and the closed Brentwood Pathmark location. Those 2 stores, we have a contract for those 2 stores specifically. Those were the only 2 Bogopah stores at the time that they purchased, and we will be soon getting together with them to negotiate that contract. And if any of you out there work for Food Bazaar, not the Food Bazaars that were former Fairway stores, but the Food Bazaars that were former Pathmark stores, we will be negotiating that soon. That's just in June. So the next month we will be looking to begin negotiations with the big 3 ShopRite companies. Now, when I say the big 3, I mean Glass Gardens ShopRite, Mannix ShopRite, and SRS. Glass Gardens primarily in Brooklyn and Queens, Mannix primarily in Staten Island, SRS in Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess counties. Last check, I think we had about 45 to 5,000 members in those 3 companies together, and needless to say, that's a very large undertaking and a very large project and membership there. And we will be soon putting together committees for each company and looking for proposals from the membership there. Now, again, similar to this meeting tonight, we haven't been holding any in-person meetings, obviously for health reasons, health safety reasons. And what we've been doing is emailing out a request for contract proposals from the membership. Typically what we do is hold a proposal meeting where we get everyone together under one roof and we hear your proposals, we write them down, you guys elect a negotiating committee, and then we take those proposals and meet with the company as well as the committees. We haven't been able to do that during COVID. In fact, that's why we put off the ShopRite negotiations that were scheduled to expire in 2020, because it was right in the heart of the pandemic as things were ramping up, which is when we would have had these proposal meetings. So we signed on to 1-year extensions there for each of the big 3 companies, and now those 1-year extensions are coming up to an expiration, and we're looking to meet there as well. What we will be doing is looking for the SRS Glass and Mannix members to email in their proposals, and we will be posting a notice on our socials and sending out a mass email to all of our members that work there at those stores when the time comes for you to send in those email proposals to our dedicated email address for that. Okay, so be on the lookout for that announcement. We're going to do it towards the end of June, mid to end of June, so that we can get all of the proposals together, get them documented, get the committees together, and then ultimately meet with the companies and present the proposals to them. Okay? So stay tuned for more updates with the bargaining. You'll hear a little bit later also from Secretary Treasurer Wadi that we will be also negotiating with a company named Foragers. We're also throwing that on the schedule as well. So we have about 5 or 6 companies that we're actively negotiating with at the same time, and the schedule's kind of crazy right now. So just hang in there with us, and we will definitely update you as we go along. Okay? If you have any questions, again, please put them in the chat, and we will address any and all questions at the end of the meeting. That's the end of my report. So I'm going to pass it over to Secretary Treasurer Ali Wadi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Really hope you're enjoying the wonderful weather we're having. I know that it was a little bit warmer than usual for us today, as we had a pretty eventful day, but it seems that every day at Local 1500, especially as the pandemic took on last year and we've moved on to, I guess, our new norm, right, if you will, and I'll definitely get into that in a little bit. But first, I wanted to bring you some good news. Joe mentioned Foragers, and yes, we are going to begin bargaining with Foragers. We worked with a fantastic group of workers who were in desperate need of joining a union, and you often hear me talk about the importance of organizing. I could tell you that during a pandemic, organizing becomes even more important than it used to be, because the union actually sets the standards on a lot of the benefits that our members were lucky enough, and I mean that with all the respect in the world, because some workers are not as lucky as we were. And the reality is that who's really lucky in a pandemic, right? But so moving on, the workers at Foragers were victorious in winning 2 elections, not 1, but 2 elections, and one in Manhattan and one in Brooklyn. So Joe and I will begin the bargaining process, and we will have the pleasure of getting to know this company. And look, when we start to work on an organizing campaign, sometimes the fight, and we'll call it that, is a difficult one, because we start to go back and forth. We start to get to know the company. We start to develop a relationship even before we've actually met them. And if for some reason, because we know that oftentimes this happens, we have some people from Foragers tuned in, whether it be workers or it be company, we welcome you to our union, and we welcome you to our union family, because we do fancy ourselves feeling that that's the way that it is. We do want the workers to know and to understand that we will be with them through thick and thin, no matter what. And we will be, as they were, victorious in representing them, because that's our job. And we definitely put everything behind that, no matter what. For the company officials, if you are watching and you are listening, we also welcome you to our union family. And we welcome you, and we give you the opportunity for you to do the right thing, to stand with your workers, and whatever it is that has happened and could happen, whether it be past or future, we would like to see some of those concerns, some of the issues that the workers have, to be corrected. You have an opportunity to do the right thing, and message across the board, no matter who we're talking about, is that essential workers were not just essential during the pandemic. They'll always be essential, and that goes for the workers at Foragers too. So congratulations to everyone that participated in the campaign, especially to our organizing team, newly hired by the union, and I'll certainly get into that a little bit more as we talk about a staff update. But we do have some challenges ahead. Everything is not as rosy and as peachy as it may seem. We also had another campaign with Monfifo, a company out of Brooklyn, organic and very much similar in the same vein with those like Whole Foods. And by no means am I trying to raise their stock by affiliating them with another brand. The real correlation there is to talk about the fact that these workers have similar disadvantages. Sometimes the the theme or the idea of an employer could seem very organic and very wholesome. But the reality is that it's oftentimes those that are not really doing the right thing behind their workers. And again, for that, that's what the union's here for. And unfortunately, we're still dealing with the process. And while we will be bargaining later this month with foragers, later this month, we'll be going to a hearing on Monfifo to determine the fate of these workers and to figure out what will happen with their election process. So please stay tuned. We will keep you posted, and we will let you know if any action is to be taken there. Because just like the workers at Foragers, just because we don't have the legal right to represent those workers, we are not absent the fact that we have a responsibility and that these workers believed in us and they put a lot behind us. And again, very much related to our staff update. One of the workers that came out, that is actually employed by Local 1500 now, actually came out of this organizing campaign, and we are very happy to have him. Their loss is our gain, and as far as we're concerned, we're happy to have him be part of our union family as well. So I spoke a little bit about staff updates, so I want to let you guys know what we've been working on. So since we started a campaign, an internal campaign, obviously, for our union to grow our staff to be able to provide our members, you, a better product, a better opportunity to be represented, we have hired 2 new organizers. And I believe we potentially mentioned this before, but I think with the job that these workers recently did, it bears much consequence for us to mention them again. Dan Byers and Shane Jones. Shane Jones being the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, coming out of Monfifo, having a vast knowledge of the process. And I can only say that I was extremely impressed when I first spoke with Shane as to what his level of knowledge was about the process of organizing. Don't be misled. I don't believe for one second that workers don't know how to build worker power, because I know that they do. My level of interest in the conversation was more so because he had internal knowledge on how to develop an organizing campaign, and that was because due to his intelligence, due to his interest, and I think the interest of all of the workers that were there, they did their homework and they did their research, and that is why they were so committed. So welcome Dan and welcome Shane to the team. Really happy to have you. Moving on, and I do believe, again, this is someone that we've mentioned, but this person now has a partner in our plight or our request, if you will, to talk to you guys about hiring new staff. And the last time we spoke, I had mentioned during my report that we were looking to hire new staff. And Alicia Lastumble, welcome to the team, was very quick to reach out to us. And we started to have conversation probably the day after our last meeting. So we're happy to have her. We're happy to have her join Gina. Julie, and I apologize for that pause, because Gina has also been a great part of our team, and who could leave George K, and we'll leave it at that. I'm sure you guys have met him before in the field, and we're really happy with the team that we have. This is something that we're going back to, rebuilding our membership servicing staff to make sure that even when the night shift, which is obviously pivotal to the organization and to your respective employers, you guys get a lot of that job done that where maybe sometimes you aren't seeing. And we want to correct that. We want to make sure that there are eyes, ears, and boots on the ground at every point of the day. So welcome to them as well. We have another addition, so the list is actually very long, so you know that we've been working on a lot of things. We welcome Desmond Byfield. Desmond came to us 5 months ago, 5 weeks ago, around. So we welcome Desmond. Desmond is a very long-term member with Local 1500. I would list a number of employers that you've been affiliated to as through your membership, and we all know that companies go out of business and things happen. So we're really happy to see that Desmond was able to make that transition from one to another, and eventually to our own very own union family here. And I leave this one for last because it's a very interesting department. It's a kind of a deviation from the organizing team that we've had, and there is a multitude of skills and really using his skills, different tasks that we put him into. And Lee Durfee is now part of the newly minted solar team. And I'm gonna have to look at this because I'm not as proficient on this as our president is.
They prefer Solar Squad. That's the so far word squad.
Okay. So I already lost this.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Solar stands for social justice, organizing, legislative activity, advocacy, and research. So it's SOLAR. That's the acronym, and those things plus very many more that we couldn't find a word to put all of the letters in the alphabet that's represented for the things that Lee does for us. So he's the inaugural member of the Solar Squad.
Easy for him to say. But on a serious note, Lee was doing a lot of the work that Rob mentioned, labeled by the letters and ultimately making the acronym. We talked a lot about what it would look like, what it would be, and we are really excited about it, to be frank with you, because it does cover a lot of the different areas that are important to developing organizing campaigns, important to developing, securities for our members. And if we're asleep at covering all angles, then you know what, they don't get covered. And that's something that Lee's going to help us with. And we're really happy to also mention the new addition in Samantha Walsh, who is starting with us just this week. This week is her first week. In a typical setting, we would have people come up and speak, and obviously we appreciate that you guys definitely stay with us and you understand the difficulty in trying to manage these things. But that kind of leads to a conversation that I want to have with you guys. We'll be going back to normal, right? People aren't wearing masks. People are walking around feeling a little bit more secure. A lot of people got vaccines. And we understand that some of these changes are coming. What I would like for you guys, as we're talking about the importance of bargaining, to just keep in mind that we are not going to let go of that essential designation that you got, that we are going to continue talking to your employers about why you're important. And I think that every person at this table has said some version of this, whether it's a hurricane coming or, the world is ending, really. Our members cannot be the ones that are holding the short straws all the time. It is important that we continue to value the work that you do. It is important that you continue to value the work that you do and that you stand with us. And I'm sure that we will get to the point where we will be having these conversations in person, and you will be back at our union hall very soon, because that's the way that the world is moving. But while the world is changing, we don't want you to miss the fact that if you guys did not report to work, if you didn't take that sacrifice, if you didn't have the courage to do that, then none of that would have happened. And everyone needs to remember that, and not today, not tomorrow, but forever. And as far as our bargaining, we're not going to let the companies forget. We're not going to let that fall short. And you have that commitment from us. And the last thing that I'll mention, and I know Rob is going to get into the more recent event that we had today, but I do want you to just hear a little bit of why we're doing some of the things that we're doing. Typically, we have a conversation about politics. We have a conversation about who we're endorsing for mayor and who we're not endorsing, and why we're doing these things. I think it was a pretty charged message that we had maybe a few meetings ago. I honestly don't remember where we said that we would hold elected officials accountable. And that message is still here. just because of ranked choice voting and the multitude of different people that you can sort of support, and maybe get behind. None of that is changing, and we want you guys to also know that. We want to make sure that whomever it is that becomes the mayor of this city, of the city that represents so many different people, the same city that also allows different issues to develop, whether we're talking about the minimum wage, whether we're talking about housing, we're talking about healthcare, or we're talking about any of the issues that affect you. We know that we can help you fix those issues. We want partners in government that make sure that we have those doors open so that it doesn't make it more difficult for us to correct whatever it is that you are going through, that you need help with. And that also goes for non-union workers. Just as a message, and maybe it's a little cynical on my part, but we hear about the modifications in the law as it relates to whether you're talking about marijuana, you're talking about anything else. We'd like to hear some modifications on the access for you to be able to talk to your friend, talk to anyone about being in a union, belonging to a union, potentially helping one of your family members be part of the union. And for those not to be tied to any retaliation, as I went on to talk about what happened in some of those campaigns, there's always retaliation when you speak up and you stand up for a union. And that needs to go away. And we're engaging in those conversations with these elected officials because it's important. So we are going to be doing some meet and greet events at our stores. We are going to get involved with anyone that is willing to talk to us about bettering the lives of our members. And obviously, viability and who is going to actually win is always important. But don't be misled. Our union does not always support people only because they're in the front. We also believe that we can make change and we can put someone in front. If they stand with our members, we'll also stand with them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few things. I will say that it's a little difficult to do these types of meetings looking at a computer or a phone with your staff sitting behind it, because if you don't know this already, our staff is always here when we do these meetings. They're here in attendance, and there are a couple of them that collect all your names and your comments for your stores to throw you in for the raffle at the end of the meeting, and then there's a few writing down any and all questions that you have so that they can get them up here when we get to the Q&A part of the meeting. But it's a little bit less than normal, right? You're used to talking to an audience full of members, people you don't see all the time, and that's a really exciting premise and a really exciting promise. My staff doesn't want to be sitting here listening to this any more than I want to be sitting here just talking to them. I prefer to be talking to a room full of members. But there are benefits and liabilities to Zoom and what the pandemic has brought us. One of the biggest benefits, I think, is to Joe's report earlier. He's negotiating with 4 or 5 different companies, him and Allie, and one of the main reasons they're able to do it is because the primary amount of these bargainings are being done via Zoom. So they're not traveling from county to county. They're not traveling in the same day. They're able to book blocks of hours for one company, and in the same day, maybe at the second half of the day, book another set of bargaining with a second employer. And that's all stuff that would absolutely not be possible unless it was multiple employers bargaining in the same hotel or bargaining here in the union office. So as much as there are difficulties associated with using Zoom to continue our communication process with our membership, it's definitely opened some doors to make a few things that we do a little bit easier or a little bit more smooth. I have the pleasure of sitting on the Long Island Federation of Labor, the New York State AFL-CIO, as well as the New York City Central Labor Council. In many cases, those executive board meetings occur in the same week or in the same day. So for me not to have to shuttle from Long Island to New York City or potentially up to Albany or into New York City for a New York State meeting definitely gives me more time to do things that our members need me to be doing every single day. But the involvement in those committees is nothing short of vital. So it just makes attending those meetings a little bit easier because it takes the commute out of it. We've updated you many times about the street vendor situation in New York City. All throughout the pandemic, the street vendor issue for our employers and our members in New York City has gotten progressively worse. We're working with the coalition to try to do some pretty demonstrative things, just to try to help bring a little bit more common sense to the issue. You know, brick and mortar employers pay a small fortune for the right to operate in the city of New York. Many of those brick and mortar employers employ thousands of our members, and it's our job to try to represent them, whether that's a popular job with certain elected officials or certain political parties or not. You know, we stand to defend our members and defend their ability to earn a living and to put food on the table for themselves and their families. And when anything impacts that to the negative on a regular basis, it's our job to stand up and try to fix it, or at least try to make it somewhat common sense related. And right now, the fact is that street vendors operating on the same street, on the same corner, or in front of the entryway to our buildings, where our members work and provide for their families, is just preposterous, and we need to try to find a solution. Thankfully, we're working very well together with a coalition of both other unions and employers in an effort to try to bring some common sense solution that'll help our employers. Because at the end of the day, our employers employ all of you, they employ our members, and the more volume that's lost, the more hours are lost, the more members that are lost. So I'm very excited at how far we've gotten so far, but there's a long way to go and a lot more conversation to be had. Today, we took the opportunity to take a first step with a mayoral candidate to try to get them to meet our members. You know, meeting with any elected official is nice, but at the end of the day, I represent members. I don't represent myself when I meet with an elected official, and who best to represent a member's opinion, whether it be about the pandemic and the experience that it was like to work in the pandemic, or on an elected position such as the city of New York's mayor, than our members. You know, the reality is I can do my best to reiterate a message, but it's best heard directly from the mouth of the member, directly from the mouth of the voting constituent for that mayoral candidate. And today, Andrew Yang took that leap. He took that step with us. He met quite a few of our members at the Food Bazaar in Douglaston, which was a former Fairway, purchased out of bankruptcy by the Bogopah Company. And honestly, I think it was as shocking for our members to have a mayoral candidate in their store as much as it was for Andrew Yang to meet with some of our members and to hear the reality and their stories, to listen to how the pandemic impacted themselves, their coworkers, their families, how some of them will never be the same as they were before. I think that goes a long way to ensure, and by the way, this was not an endorsement situation. We are still in the midst of our endorsement process. We had an endorsed candidate. We had no choice but to remove that endorsement. And we want everybody to have the opportunity to meet and greet our members and to listen to the real talk that the essential workers went through and the experiences that they had through the last 18 months keeping the city, quite frankly, keeping the city standing upright. Because if not for the work of our members, the city would have descended into absolute anarchy and chaos. If you can't feed your population, there's not much else you can do. So for any of the other elected candidates, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to get you some FaceTime with our members. We think it's important for whoever is going to be the mayor that you understand completely, not through a story, not through an article that you read in a publication, but you understand from talking directly to essential workers what it was like, so that when you're in office, you can protect them no matter what situation occurs next. Because as Ali said, our members are there no matter what issue befalls the city of New York. Whether it be weather, that sounds great. No matter whether it's, I can't do it without saying it. Weather, national impact, or any type of event that creates panic or widespread shopping pandemonium in the city, it's our members that are there every day. It's our members that have been there for decades. So they need to have a firsthand understanding of what our members need, what their families need to better serve them as the mayor. So today was a great start. We're looking to continue that process even later this week with Catherine Garcia and potentially next week with Maya Wiley. But they're elected officials. They have busy schedules. We're doing everything we can to pin them down. This year, we were very proud to increase the number and the amount we gave in scholarships to local 1,500 members. This year, we awarded 21 scholarships totaling $68,000. It was about 5 years ago that our scholarship program was based around $500 a semester. And when I was a rank and file member in the stores 27 years ago, it was $500 a semester. Former President Spielman and I made that a very important goal of ours and for the union to raise those per semester rates. And Secretary Treasurer Ali Wadi and I have continued to do that. It is now $1,000 per semester. That's something we're extremely proud of. This year, at the urging of Lynn Shields, who sits as a trustee on the scholarship fund, we've included trade schools. At the urging of some of our reps, especially our reps in the city, we've included part-time students. So if you're a student that's only getting 6 or 9 credits a semester, you were able to apply for a scholarship this year. And for the first time ever, your union membership, your active membership, was considered just like your grades or your SAT scores or your extracurricular activities. And yes, that gave a little bit of an advantage to a rank and file member as opposed to the dependent of a rank and file member. And we felt that that was important. It's very important for our members who work and go to school to have the opportunity to have access to money to make their college career a little bit easier. That's the goal of the plan. That was the goal since the 80s when former President Frank Meehan created the scholarship plan. And we're extremely, extremely proud of the job that we did this year. And we thank all of our contributing employers as well as the vendors that help contribute to that fund. Because, as I said, it's $68,000 this year. Just extrapolate that over a couple of years. The cost of running that fund goes up every time we make a good decision, but we're trying to put money back in the pockets of our student members. We feel that's an obligation that we have, and we're going to continue down that road. Ali brought up and named literally every person we've hired since the latter part of 2020 and into 2021. But I just need you to figure this out. I mean, there are 9 people, I can't count either, 7 people that we've hired in short order, 2 organizers, 2 on the Solar Squad, 2 membership servicing representatives, and a union representative. Desmond comes to us, we knew we were going to have a vacancy. At the end of this month, John Woods, after more than 30 years of service with Local 1500 and a handful as a member prior to coming to work for the local, has decided to retire. John's a young man, but he's got a lot of life in front of him, and he's going to relocate with his husband, and they're very, very happy to move into that stage of his life. So for those of you that know John, and I'm sure there are literally thousands of members that have had the opportunity to be serviced by him as a representative, as a service rep, or even worked with him on an organizing project. John's worked in vast locales in our local. He's worked in way upstate New York City, definitely in Nassau and Suffolk County, where at one point he and I were partners in Nassau County together. So I would tell you that you should all take the opportunity to wish John well. We wish him well and continued happiness as he moves into the next stage of his life. I mean, without any question, that's what we all want, right? We all want to get to the point where we can say, you know, I'm done, punch out, and take care of ourselves and take care of our families, because if you wait too long, you may not get the opportunity. So to John, we wish you well. And the young man, Desmond Byfield, was hired to replace that position. He's not in the run that John was in. That run was filled by Steve Zeiner. Most of you have probably met Rock and Roll Stevie by now if you're out on the East End. Long hair, beard, tattooed like crazy. Couldn't look anything different than John if we tried. That wasn't by design. That's just how the chips fell. But, we're doing everything we can to make sure that whether it's the return of the membership servicing program, the creation of the Solar Squad, finding new organizers to continue to try to grow the jurisdiction to protect your livelihoods, we do everything we can to take any savings that we glean from either a new vendor contract or through the retirement of, somebody like John who's been with us 30 years. We want to take that money and we want to put it back into servicing you. We're not looking to take that money and just not spend it. The service needs to be at the level it is, if not higher, and we're going to do everything we can to continue to increase that service as we go forward. You will see Alicia Listumbo and Gina Julie probably by the August mark, the beginning of August. I would imagine you'll see Desmond palling around either with another representative or on his own covering runs in a similar time frame. We're trying our best to get everyone trained, but we want to make sure that before they're out there solo, that they have 100% knowledge of what you expect from them as a member of this union. There was a lot of media coverage over the possibility of gig worker legislation being passed in New York State. As a member of the New York State AFL-CIO, I had the luxury of sitting on a very small committee that tried to find a way to quite literally shove a banana through the eye of a needle. When you start talking about hundreds of thousands of workers who don't report to a single location, but report to an app and service in literally every corner of New York State and do everything from deliver people to deliver conventional convenience items and all kinds of food, whether it be prepared or raw, it's a very difficult conversation to have. To have an all-encompassing solution quickly and have it pass through the New York State Senate was a Herculean attempt. And although a lot of people have had a lot of negative things to say, I think the one thing that needs to be recognized is that no matter what, the intent was to try to bring as much of a traditional employee relationship to these workers. And no, it was not perfect. And there are labor leaders and there are civic leaders and elected officials that will absolutely jump up and tell you 100 reasons why it was a bad idea. But I do think it was an idea based around trying to bring some level of dignity and respect, access to workers' compensation, and representation, as well as unemployment insurance. And no, it was far from perfect. Our own international, especially our international president, Mark Perrone, had a lot to say about it, and he found that there was a lot of insufficiencies in the legislation. That being said, it's not something that's going to go away, and God willing, it was the first step of what will need to be probably many to get there. But if you think about what the workplace looks like now, the fact that gig economy workers are engaged in these conversations, and these not only these employers but these employee groups are going to have a bigger voice in the next rendition of this legislation, I think it can only go up from here. I was proud to sit in on a lot of these meetings with the committee, and I look forward to trying to find a way to skin that cat in the future, because you can't have millions of people doing jobs that some of our very folks do in our stores and not have them be represented, not have them be treated as employees, and not have them have access to the basic worker dignity and the basic worker needs. So there was a lot, and you could probably do 5 of these meetings just about that process. But I was very proud to be a part of it, and I look forward to continuing to try to find solutions together with those workers. As we start to get back to some normalcy, you're going to start to see and hear our reps out there trying to raise money, whether it be for leukemia, for breast cancer, for autism, or for a host of small independent charities and member needs that we try to fill every year. I would tell you it was very, very, very difficult to do in 2020 as we get towards the tail end, the third quarter of 21. I would tell you should expect to see your reps out there hawking some type of raffle ticket or trying to get you to attend a comedy show or potentially come to a bowling event. Everything we do every year has been an incredible success, both as far as getting members together as well as raising money for incredible causes that absolutely need our help every day to continue along. Many of your employers do a scan-off card for us, so if you're lucky enough to work for one of those companies and you're on the front end, or you're a front-end manager or a front-end runner, we ask that you try to push as hard as you can, because every dollar raised comes back to us. It does go out to those charities. They're all incredible. And if your employers are going to agree to do it, we're going to need the help of our members to get it passed. That's the one thing that the employer can set the dates and the time, but it's our members that do the conversation and the collection with the customers at store level. So please keep an eye out for that, and any help you can provide would be greatly appreciated. Got a lot of calls since the changes in some of the relaxing of the mask mandates and the expansion of some of the capacity limits, whether it be in restaurants, bars, stadiums. People want to know when they're opening up. And in typical fashion, there's more misinformation out there than correct information. So let me give you the correct information, because you're not going to get it any clearer. I'm the one making the decision. Whether it's a popular or unpopular decision, it's the one that makes me and our executive team the most comfortable. So this is how it's going to work from this point. This is the second to last Zoom-only meeting that we're going to do from a general membership perspective. We're going to do a live general membership meeting in December of 2021 right here in your Union Hall. This is your house, and we are very eager to get members back in it. However, we want to be as cautious as we possibly can. We will start to do some public events in the latter part of October and into November of 2021. We have the ability to use our Union Hall as a like-kind donation to elected officials. So we may look to do those things as we get into the election cycle later in the year. We want to bring our retiree clubs back in October. So yes, you heard it here first. They have been the ones ringing the bell the loudest. The retirees will be back in this building and hopefully in Suffolk County if Coordinator Funk is willing to do them again in October of 2021. Thank you to Laura DeMace for reaching out to tell me the incorrect rumor that we were going to cancel them forever. And we were going to start by bringing our executive board back. That's a 10-member rank and file executive board, and our 10 union vice presidents, they're going to have their first live meeting back here in September. So that's our reopening plan. And I know a lot of that seems very, very far away. And it's easy. It's easy if you don't have a hands-on level of responsibility to make decisions quickly, or to only think about myself or one or two other people. And you have the right to do that with yourselves and with your family, but I don't have that luxury. As the president of the union, I have to be concerned not only about the 50 people that work in this building, I have to be concerned about the 17,500 folks that potentially could come through the doors on any given day. I don't want to be the one that's responsible, and nor does anybody on the union's executive team want to be the one that's responsible for having any type of a super spreader or having any type of a situation where we cause a spike just because we didn't want to wait an extra couple of days or an extra couple of weeks to bring live events back to the Union Hall. I know that my position on trying to get your employers to extend mask wearing for both the employees and vendors was, in some cases, an inflammatory thing for some of you to hear. Look, I get it, and I respect everyone's opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with you any more than it means that you're going to agree with me. Our ask of all of your employers was the same, and it was a simple one. Please do not stop leaving signs up that say masks mandatory. Please encourage your employees to continue to wear masks. Please require all vendors that come into your building to wear masks. No, we recognize that it's not going to be a fair situation with the customers that come in and out of the building. But my responsibility isn't to their health and safety, it's to yours. So after a lot of discussion, we've asked as many employers as we can get on the phone to please continue the mask mandates for as long as possible, at least through the summer. We fully understand and recognize the agitation that goes along with wearing a mask. I, for one, do not have any concept how many of you have done it for as long as you have, but I also am not foolish enough not to recognize the fact that that's why a lot of you didn't get sick, and it's why a lot of you are here to complain about my opinion. It was not very long into the pandemic when this union was demanding that our employers allow members to wear masks. And when some of our larger employers said to us, specifically to our Secretary-Treasurer, that they didn't like the way it looked to have their employees wear a mask behind a counter. And 2 or 3 weeks later, the CDC changed its guidance, and those very same employers were knocking on our door for help finding masks. Thankfully, we had already done some research, and we'd already done some recon, and Allie and Joe were able to lock down some masks, and we were able to get those out quickly when masks were at a premium. I don't ask that you agree with the decision that we've made. I've asked that you just understand why we've made it. A little bit of extra caution goes a long way, and the life that gets saved could be yours. And from my perspective, that's a worthwhile situation, and that's a worthwhile extension on this time frame. You want to go to a baseball game or a hockey game and not wear a mask? God bless you. You want to go to a restaurant and not wear a mask? God bless you. I'm concerned about what happens to you when you're in the supermarket, because that's what I get paid to worry about, and that's what I get paid to try to influence. And quite frankly, that's what I'm going to try to do. So if that makes me unpopular with some of you, I apologize, but I only apologize because we don't agree. I don't apologize for the position I take. I feel it's the right one. So I thank you for those of you that understand it, and I hope that if you don't, you feel free to take the time, send me an email. By the way, I got quite a few nasty emails from non-members, people that have nothing better to do than to sit there and, because they read my name in a newspaper that I was asking for employers to maintain a mandate, telling me to mind my business. Well, here's the deal. I am minding my business. My members are my business, period. And if you're watching this and you're not a dues-paying member of this union and you want to take exception, stick it. I know what my job is. My job is to protect our members and keep our stores safe. And if you don't like that, there are other options. There are plenty of other options. You can click and collect. You can do Peapod. You can order your groceries, and our members will put them right in the backseat of your car or the trunk if that's what you want to do. You do not have to come into the store without a mask to prove a point or politicize an issue and put our members at risk. So I don't care whether you send me an email or a postcard or you leave me an obnoxious, anonymous voicemail. It's not going to change my opinion. So thanks for trying, but my members matter a hell of a lot more than you. That's the deal. I want to close before we get into the question and answers by just going through a few things. And maybe it's long overdue and I take responsibility for that, but You know, every once in a while, we get that one or two members that complain about the way the medical plan used to be, and it sucks, and it's not as good as it used to be. And, you know, again, I don't have to agree with that opinion, but I do have to listen to it, and I usually do. Tonight, I just wanted to give you some information. This is legit. We had our trustee meeting yesterday. Trustee meetings are typically based around the quarter that expired prior. So most of the information I'm going to give you, well, actually all of the information I'm going to give you is effective 3/31 of 21. And I think it's important that you know. We have 3,314 members currently covered under the full-time welfare plan. Those 3,314 members also have 843 spouses that are covered under the full-time welfare plan and 1,967 children covered under the full-time welfare plan. The average age of the member, full-timer that's covered in our plan is 48 years old. The average age of their dependents is 39. We're 53% male in our full-time workforce and 47% female. I wish it was closer to 50-50 or maybe tipping over a little bit to the female side, but I submit to you that it used to be a hell of a lot more out of balance than 53-47. That much I can guarantee you. For the rolling 12-month period expiring 3/31 of 21, the local 1,500 welfare plan on the full-time side only paid out $36.9 million in welfare claims. That's not prescription, that's not dental, that's not vision, that's not death benefits, that's just medical claims, medical and hospitalization. $36.9 million. Here's the exciting part. $18.75 million was paid on 101 claims. 51% of the total dollars spent on the full-time welfare plan went to pay 101 claims. 3,314 members, 2,810 dependents and spouses, 101 claims of more than $75,000 each equated to $18.8 million. Where does that happen if you're not in a group benefit plan? Where does that happen if you're not in a multi-employer benefit plan? It doesn't. And for those 101 people, I always like to say, and Chuck Howard, our senior executive board member, loves to say the things that I reiterate constantly. And I always say the devil's in the details. And in this case, he actually said, Rob, the angel's in the details. Because the fact that this plan was able to take care of those bills for those 101 people is probably the difference between life and death, whether it be for that member or that member's family. It's very important information. Our special part-time plan currently has 543 members in it. That's a member-only plan, and you had to be around prior to 2006, and there's 100 other loops that you had to jump through. The average age in that plan is 54. 57% female, 43% male. $7.7 million were paid in the last 12 months. $7.7 million. 5.8 was paid on 16 claims. 16, 1-6. Out of 543 participants, 16 people used 76.3% of the money. Where would those people be? Where would their family members be? They certainly would be without the loved one. That's a guarantee. Prescription drug costs. Again, something we routinely hear about because we try to push generic or we try to push mail away. The first quarter of 2021, not the rolling 12, the first quarter, the first 3 months, $3.3 million were paid in just prescription drug costs. 3.3 mil. The employee, the member copay was $135,000. Just about 4% of the total dollars spent. You want to tell me again that your benefits suck? You want to tell me that it's not as good as it used to be? The prescription drug plan alone costs approximately $114.17 per participant per month. $114.17 per participant per month. Those are real numbers. Those are facts. This isn't fabricated. This isn't an opinion. This isn't somebody just trying to unplug someone's unpopular opinion or someone's attitude. These are reality. And this is the reality on a regular basis. We do everything we can to manage the dollars that come in on the fund. We do everything we can to negotiate the highest wages we can get out of your employer and the highest contributions we can get to provide you the best benefit package those dollars can afford. Those are real numbers, and it's probably been a little bit too long since the last time you heard them. So I just wanted to go through those with you this evening. I'm sure our guys have collected cards, and they may or may not be getting some questions together that I'll deal with in a Q&A at this point. But Joe, Ally, thank you for the time, and I appreciate you all listening, because that's my pre-prepared remarks. I'll turn it back to you, there, raffle man. Oh, that's not
I did. Okay, folks, we'll do the raffle first, then the Q&A.
scoot over. Yep.
Okay, so,
Oh, they got my phone. Travesty.
okay, folks, coming over, Al. We have the attendance cards coming up front now. We have 15 $25 gift cards that we will be giving out tonight. So we will start the process, and we will do the question and answer session after this. Those of you who have questions and are seeking answers, please sit tight. Those of you who, after the raffle, if you care to stay on, obviously, please stay on, okay? This is our favorite part of the meeting, I think.
$25 gift card, as Joe said.
Goes to Leticia Sampaio, Letty, from Stop and Shop 512. Yay. There we go. See, we do have a crowd. That raffle box over there.
You can just keep them together.
Next winner is Michael Uliano, Stop and Shop 543. Hopefully I read that right. Yeah. No, it's a Uliano.
Okay.
I think. Trying to read that handwriting. Next card. Robbie Foster, King Cullen 26. Yeah, woo! Anne-Marie O'Donohue. Anne-Marie O'Donohue. We don't have a store number, but Anne-Marie, just type in the comments that it's the Anne-Marie O'Donohue from 511? I think so. Okay. Is that Kaufman? Okay.
We got a yay in the crowd from that one.
Okay. Marge Clerico. Congratulations, Marge. Stop and Shop 544. Come on, Conk. Rohan Picton. Stop and Shop 537. Rohan, congratulations.
You guys have some fans in the crowd here.
Kellyanne Newkirk, King Cullen 47. Kellyanne, congratulations. Julie Toledo, SRS 202. Nancy Koch, King Cullen 15. Nancy, congratulations. Francisco Rodriguez, Stop and Shop 2590. Francisco, congratulations.
Pick two.
Oh, that's all okay. That's good. Craig O'Connor, Stop and Shop 543. What's up, Craig? Good luck. Congratulations. Good luck. You won already.
Throw them in the pile again.
Tina Smith, King Cullen 19. Hi, Tina.
Oh, sorry, I'm already getting ahead of myself here.
Matthew Joseph Collins, Stop and Shop 512. Staten Island showing up tonight. Stephen Hennessy, Wild by Nature 202. What's up, Steve? Steve's on our negotiating committee for Wild by Nature. Thank you for tuning in, Steve. And this is the last one.
Last one.
Roberto Montanez, Stop and Shop 2502. Congratulations, Roberto. Before we jump into the Q&A, President Newell's coming back, but I just want to give a quick shout out to our friends in labor that may be watching. I know Dom Pontarelli's watching from
Hey, Dom.
up north, so just want to give you a quick shout out, Dom. Hello. Saw you in the comments earlier.
All right. You apparently have the questions. It's like breaking into the vault to get the questions. All right. Okay, so the first one is obviously not that case. There we go. All right, Gregory Jr., ShopRite 801. Can leads be addressed in the new contract and potentially become department heads? Everything we address in the new contract, now whether it's ShopRite or any other employer, comes direct from the floor. So as you heard earlier, EVP Waddy talked to you about responding to the request for membership proposals when we send that email out. That's definitely got to be a proposal. Honestly, it's something that we would look for no matter what, but it is something that should come from the floor, especially if that's something you're interested in. Cindy Yala, Stop and Shop 2587. Members are concerned that more and more customers are coming in without masks. Cindy, I completely agree. And we had a very lengthy conversation with your company. Stop and Shop was one of the first to reach out to us. We didn't have to reach out to them. They reached out to us to find out what we were going to be comfortable with and what we could potentially have an issue with. And quite frankly, it becomes a matter of trying not to chase the business out of the stores. Unfortunately, there were people that chose not to abide by the mask mandates even long before the governor relaxed it or the CDC recommended that it could be relaxed. The only thing I can tell you is if our members have masks, if the stores continue to exercise social distancing or insist on social distancing, keep up the plexiglass where it is, it's going to provide you an additional level of security, an additional level of safety. Cindy, I fully recognize that's not going to be 100% as well as it was before, but unfortunately, this is a situation where everyone's independent opinion is not going to be able to be completely satisfied. That customer has just as much a right not to wear the mask based on the current guidelines as you have to want them to wear one. The best for us is to try to make sure that everybody we can influence does, and that's why we've asked the employers to leave the signs up. Rohan Picton, who just won a card, Stop and Shop 537. Any news on when Little Neck Stop and Shop is closing? Rohan, when we were spoken to by the company, I believe we were told it was going to be closing in January of 22. But these things do have a habit of getting delayed. They do have a habit of changing. When you start talking about real estate and leases, there's always an opportunity for a landlord to try to negotiate an extension or for a landlord to potentially try to give the current tenant a little bit of extra money to leave early. We have not heard any changes since the day the company was out doing the announcements. Our reps were on the scene that day as well. But we're keeping an eye on it. As a matter of fact, during our staff meeting earlier today, I asked Jay Scorzelli, who happens to be the representative and the assistant field director in that area. So if you have direct questions or you've heard something that you think we should know, you should reach out to Jay. Jerome Gomez, our Andrew Yang superstar from today, Food Bazaar 76. Is Food Bazaar contributing to employer for donations to the scholarship funds? Yes. And as we bargain with them for both this contract and the next, we will absolutely look and be getting them included in the old A&P acquisition contracts. Marge Clerico, blow smoke up your butt, Steve. That's pretty good that you circled that one. As Rob was congratulating me. That's great, Marge. I am not surprised in any way, shape, or form. Have any other questions popped in? No? All right, that's good. We're getting a little bit better at this. I think we did it a little bit more efficiently this evening. But I do want to say, as I always try to, and I try to remember to always do this because I mean it, from all of us here, we really do appreciate the honor and the opportunity to serve as your representatives of the union. We want you to get to meet our new staff. They're here to represent you. We're eager to get you back in your building. This is the house that Frank Meehan helped build, and he did so with the help of every single union dues dollar that was collected throughout his tenure. So We're very excited at that promise, and we look forward to keeping you safe and seeing you all soon. Anything in closing?
No, just thanks for joining, everyone. Be safe out there. Thank you for everything that you do. You're our everyday heroes, all right? And we're proud to represent you. See you soon.
Yes?
Good night, guys.